my name is Grace and I have hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Outside of my disease, I'm a believer in Jesus, a wife, and a master's student on a mission to understand more about my disease and everything that comes along with it. So if you're interested in learning more, be sure to subscribe because I post new videos every week about living with chronic illness and hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Okay, so I wanted to chat a little bit about how I went through 4 years of college with a chronic illness. And I want to go through some of the different tips that really helped me succeed in my 4 years of school. So number one is to get connected with the accommodation team at your school. To my knowledge, every school has an accommodation team, and you can receive accommodations either through a 504 that you had in high school, which is accommodations for high school. If you didn't have accommodations in high school and you think you might need them in college, get them earlier, trust. You can go to your doctors, let them know, hey, this is what I think I might need. If you think I might need other things, whatever, talk with them. And then your doctors can write different letters to your school. Your school will take those, your diagnosis, into account and will either provide you or deny you accommodations. At least in my case, it was very easy to get accommodations. I don't know how easy it is for everyone, but it did help that I had a 504 in high school also. But if you didn't, don't freak out because there's definitely ways around that. So number one, get an accommodation plan. Now, what does an accommodation plan even do for you? So when you get accommodations in college, it provides you kind of two main services. The first one is the actual accommodations. So this can be a different testing environment, allowing you to have food and drink in classes, or having extra time on assignments, having premier parking so that you can get to classes, having a golf cart come and pick you up from each of your classes and bring you to another. There's a whole variety of accommodations that they can offer you, and I would really recommend reaching out to the school that you plan on attending or the school that you do attend and see what type of accommodations they offer and which ones might work best for you. The second is acting as an advocate for you. Now, a lot of times I experienced being really sick, being in the hospital, and for the most part, my professors were very understanding, but occasionally they weren't, and they wouldn't allow me my extra time, or they weren't very lenient or understanding of what was going on. So at the beginning of each semester, I would reach out to all of my professors. Now, through my school specifically, I logged onto my portal through the accommodation center, and I was able to send letters that I literally just clicked a bunch of buttons and the accommodation center sent all the letters, and it basically listed all of my accommodations that I have. It doesn't give them any of my personal information, just the accommodations that I've been approved through the school. But I would reach out to my professors, introduce myself, maybe explain where I'm from, what my major is, that I'm excited about their course, and then I would explain that I have a chronic health condition. I, for the most part, wouldn't go into details, but I would say I've had several surgeries for this in the past, or I have a tendency to, need to be hospitalized at different points in the semester. I wanted to give you a heads up semester. Then the first day of class, I would go up to them at the end of class, introduce myself, say, hey, you may have gotten an email from me. Just kind of allowing them to put a face to the name is really helpful. Tells them that in the chance that you get sick or you need to basically tap into those accommodations that aren't the basics, like being in the testing center or something, they can remember, oh, this was that student that came up to me at the first day of the semester. Basically knowing that you're not just milking the accommodations, which I know sounds like it should be a given, but occasionally it's not. When something happens, or if something happens in the middle of the semester, what I would do is I would immediately, as soon as I knew something was happening, I would send an email to my professor. I would CC my accommodation specialist, and I would just give them a heads up of what's going on. You don't have to give details. Now, if you are being hospitalized, a lot of times I was hospitalized out of state because my home hospital was in North Carolina and I went to school in Texas. So I might say to them, hey, I'm having a medical flare, or I am, having surgery, or whatever it is. In North Carolina, I've been hospitalized there. You can leave it at that, or you can go into detail. I wouldn't go into too much detail because a lot of times they don't care to know that much information, but giving them some layer of, and again, I hate that this has to be how it is, but it is. Just saying to them, hey, this is what's happening. It's kind of intense. I need to tap into my accommodations here, and I'm gonna do my best to stay on top of everything. But in the case that I don't, I wanted to give you the heads up. CC the accommodation specialist, because maybe the professor will have questions. They know exactly who to contact, and it gives the accommodation specialist a clue into what's happening. Now, once I emailed my professor, CC'd the accommodation specialist, sent the email, I would then email my accommodation specialist separately and say, hey, I just emailed X, Y, and Z professor about this issue. I CC'd you on the email, but I wanted to give you a little bit more detail on what's going on, or just say, hey, this is what I'm expecting I'm gonna be able to do. This is what I don't think I'm gonna be able to do, and kind of giving them a little bit more detail, again, maybe not on your actual medical issue, but on what you expect yourself to be able to accomplish, can give the accommodation specialist a little bit more understanding and better ability to advocate for you, because you're giving them the information that they need to do so. So next thing I want to do is talk about social situations in college. Now for me, I've been going through living with a chronic illness for about 8 years by the time I entered college. So I kind of knew where my boundaries were, what I needed to do in order to feel good the next day and be able to conquer the day as best I could. So for me, that looked like making sure I got minimum of 8 hours of sleep. And for me also, I needed to go to bed early. So for the most part, I stuck with that, and that allowed me to have the best success I possibly could. I also knew that I needed to be eating a healthy diet, that alcohol was just not going to be an option for me. Now that may be different for you, but setting those expectations for myself early on really helped me be successful. What was very helpful for me was cluing in my friends on what was going on. A lot of times I noticed that sometimes I just wouldn't tell anyone what was going on at all, and that really undermines your friends. Now, I'm not saying to go tell all the world your life story. Ironically, I'm sitting here on YouTube talking about my life story, but you don't need to tell every single person that walks into your life your entire medical history. A lot of times that can be very overwhelming for the person who's hearing it, especially if you're not close to them. But kind of get a gauge on the friends that you feel like you can trust with that information, and who will be able to support you in that. Now, I had a friend who I felt like I could really trust in that, and for the most part, they were really awesome. But I did also have friends who I felt like I could trust them with it, and they ended up betraying my trust. And that only led to more heartache later, and unfortunately, that tends to be kind of just something that you have to go through when you're dealing with how to navigate all the things that chronic illness can take on you. But really trying to find those friends who you know, like, hey, if I go out one night, or if I am going to some sort of social gathering, cueing them in and letting them know, hey, like, I'm not at my best today, I might need to leave a little early. Giving them that cue, and they already know, like, hey, this is all the things that she's been through, and there's a reason why she needs to leave early, just kind of allows you to have someone who's in your corner who actually understands what's going on and can have your back in certain. And lastly, I would really just recommend having patience with yourself, having understanding with yourself, and allowing yourself to fail, because you're going to, whether it's in a class, whether it's just in life in general. College is really hard for everyone, and giving yourself grace, and also being perseverant, because I had a lot of I had a couple professors who told me to drop out even in college, and that was really, really damaging to me mentally. And I actually ended up withdrawing from that professor's class. So I have a W on my transcript, and I still got into a graduate program, and I'm still able to go on with my life and do amazing things. And really being able to have patience with yourself when you fail is very important. Now, talking about higher education a little bit, I want to start a master's program in genetic epidemiology, and I am very, very nervous because it's a master's program. It's expected to be a little bit more intensive than an undergraduate program, but what I'm really, really excited for is I know that I am able to accomplish hard things. I did a lot of hard things in college that I never thought I was going to be able to accomplish, and yet I did. And I don't want that to come off as me boasting about my own ability, because it truly was the Lord who sustained me, and also the people around me who supported me, and really getting plugged into a church, having those strong friendships who will be there. My husband, who I met in college, he was a huge support to me as well. So having those people in your life, having something, if you are a believer in something or someone, really tuning into your faith and your belief, finding something that grounds you. For me, that is my faith, and it is truly the only reason I would have been able to get to where I am, and I don't know what I would have done without it. So yeah, find your people, get plugged in with an accommodation specialist if you can, and if you're going out of state, trying to find some doctors who will support you and work alongside your main doctors back home. I found that was very helpful. So yeah, I am very, very proud of you, because if you're watching this video, you're probably considering higher education, and doing that with a chronic illness is not easy, but it is so possible. And it takes a lot of extra effort, and it may take extra time, and that's okay. So yeah, I love you guys. I'm proud of you, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.